Okay guys, welcome to another session. This is pagination. There's quite a lot of things we want to achieve. I don't know how we're gonna do it, but let's see how it goes. So we'll try and change the interface if we can. This is where we stopped the last time, and this is what we're trying to achieve right now. Something that looks like this typically, even though we'll not be doing anything on this left hand side. But even though we'll be so many things we'll be doing, but majorly what I want to achieve is the fact that first of all, let's do filter, or rather let's do pagination. We need to be able to do pagination, then do filter, and I don't know how time will permit us to also do search. But the good thing is that I've gone ahead to do the back end, but I will just run through the back end and we'll come back to the front end to see if how we can patch all this thing up. Okay, so let's go to the go backend side. I did quite a number of updates, even though they are not groundbreaking, but there's a major thing I did which I think it was gonna help us to do a lot of things. Now, if you guys could remember, we did get work orders, and by department, by all these, by that, it was getting longer. So that means that if we want to fetch an endpoint for work class, we need to send for work class, we need to get for department, we need to get for status, we need to get for priority. That is crazy. So I thought about it. Can't I just say get work orders and pass parameter as different field I want to search by? So this is what I came up with. So I came up with this endpoint that will say I can pass in department ID, unit ID, the type, which is kind of a work class ID. I can pass the status, which can be either, so let me give the option, which can either be open, close, like that. I can pass that in. I can actually type in the asset to say I want to search for a particular asset. I could search for all these stuffs, right? And I just call it work orders. That's the endpoint. So if I do router / work orders, and I'm this is when I'm doing all the joins. I join this preload. We already talked about this in relational database, and then I've added the asset to it. I preloaded asset to it. By the way, we have assets as a model, but the asset model is quite big. It has quite a lot of fields. So I stripped it down and create a miniature version of it, which is basic assets. You guys are gonna see it. Then I'm joining assets to it because I want to be able to I want to search the name of the asset. That's why I have to do this join. Preload does not do joins. You can't search inside the item you've preloaded, right? So that's why I'm doing this one here. So this is me trying to check each of the fields I've specified here. Each of the fields, I'm checking all of them one after the other. Now, if a department ID was supplied by the parameter, what should you do? Add it to the kind of query you want to do. I say, oh, where department is this? And by the way, we are building the where clause, continually. It's going to add everything. So if the department unit is supplied like that, I do that continuously. So you see where it's talking to assets. So for example, if you intend to search for an asset in a work order, you can do asset.description like this normal SQL, guys, and then it does this. You can also search for the work order description. At the end, I'm ordering by the date it was open in a descending order, and finally then doing what? And then querying it. So this does the querying. The last thing there is what does the querying, and it gives me if there's a result, fine. If there's an error, it says what the error is. If everything is okay, it returns the, what's it called now? It returns the data. So I've also done some fine tuning in terms of the way my data is being returned. My data is being returned in work order response. So I've created a kind of better structure data returning mechanism. Okay, so let's look at the documentation. Or before we look at the documentation, let's just see something else. Like, let's look at these basic assets. So let's go to model and see all the things I've added. So you've not seen asset before. So I've added the asset thing. This is what I was talking about, that the asset is so much, like the fields. And all this might not be necessary, right? It might not be necessary. So I then now create basic assets. Basic assets is supposed to have just the ID, description, maker, and the status. In fact, I don't even need the makers, so I can really remove this, but it's fine. But also telling the system that this basic asset is still connected to what? To assets. That's the idea of what this thing is all about. So let's go and then see the status and see what we have. Let's see the status, or rather let's see swagger. Let's go and see swagger, and then let me remove this one for now. Let's check out swagger. Let me run it in this browser. Because I want to show you the benefits of doing these things this way. So let me look for the server. So this is our Golang server, which is already running. And I want to call the endpoint 9090. Okay, so we just hit the endpoint and you should see it there. This is our models which I've created, and that's the idea of the response that we have. So if we do this, getting a specific work order, this is supposed to be S. So we need to make corrections to the endpoint that is coming, that the system is generating right now. So this one is correct. So okay, let me leave that one. Let me not let that one bore us. But let's look at the tests. How then do we use this? We did that in the last session that we did, how to run our tests. So let's do a test. So we just go straight to the point. Let's log in first. This is a login scenario. Our data is being logged in correctly. So we have a successful logon. And the next thing is let's see how that search is going to work. The work orders that we did. Now there are several parameters which you can then say, oh, I want to search for an asset that is HP. I don't know if they have anything called HP, but let me say HP, or let's say LG air condition. So if you say LG air, let's see the result that we have. If you send this, we should get, we're getting 0 response. So let's try something. Let's say LG. So LG still gave us 0 response. That's interesting. Okay, let's try something else. Fine, let me try what was there before. Okay, now that gave us something. So let's search for compressor, because this is an asset, this is a work order. Let's search for compressor. Asset, compressor. So let's search. Yeah, we get this coming out. So let's make this request show up nicely on the right hand side of the screen. Now here we go again. It's not giving me the close sign. Okay. So if we do work order, we are searching for compressor, it gives us, this is a work order, this is the work order number, and then the asset is this mobile air compressor, and this is the make, is online. It's showing us the description of the work order, which is a 2 weekly inspection test on so and so. So this allows us to search by assets. You can also search by the description of the work order. So by adding an ampersand and then say description. So in this case, we can say description is also, let's say availability, or let's say weekly. So if you send that information there, now we have an error there. So this error is a SQL error, which says that there's an ambiguity in our SQL statements, which I know where it's pointing to, because our SQL statement is supposed to be specific in the field that we're calling. So that is talking to where we said description here. So when you are making your SQL statement, you have to be explicit, because assets table contains description, work order table also contains description. So this is work order, and this should just work. So if we try this again, it should work this time around. Now we have that. It's also turning this up for us. So in this case now, this is the only asset that has that information. We can go back and say, no, we just want to see assets that have this description set to weekly. So we'll see all sorts of assets. So you notice that this one is just coming up for the first time. Utility water system is the asset name, while the other details applies and it's what it is. Okay, so why am I talking about this? The reason why I'm bringing this up is that imagine from React will be able to push in all the parameters we need. So just think about it a little bit. Imagine you say you are here, you can say status is equal to open. And while you are doing that, the user checked on priority. That's priority. Priority normal. While the user is still doing that, they can then say type. In this case, our type is the work class where we have the list 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. So they can say type is 4. While you're doing this, you can also say department is equal to 2. Now, instead of us calling different endpoints, the system can execute all this as one single request. So let me even try and send this and see what happens, if it will return anything for us. So it didn't return anything because, well, I don't know, we might not have the data in there. Let me try and remove the department because we've enforced too much things that we are not sure that the data is there. Let me remove the type and try and run department by 2 and see what happens. Yes, we have a result now. So I think this department is admin department. So it gave us a result based on that query. This is the query that we did run. So this is what you should be, this is how we'll be making our endpoints. So we'll make React build this URL for us and send. That way it will make our request much more easier. So having explained the backend, let's go ahead and start with the front end to start looking at how we can wire things up. Now you understand the backend and what has been done. Okay, another thing I also did was to allow me to do assets. So you can actually search for assets. You can call up an asset and say you're looking for asset that is 5 horsepower. So if you send that, you have this. So any asset that looks like it has 1.5 horsepower, it will list them up. So you can see these assets like that. And you can also get a single asset by saying asset / this. So I also did that process. You can also search multiple fields like so and get those information. So you can pick a single asset and get it up like this. So it also shows where the locations of the assets are. So you pretty have backend sorted to some point. Before we go into pagination, I'm being I'm looking like, okay, let's finish with Golang very well before we go into pagination. Now let's see, how can we make this paginate for us? So we have several options in which we can implement pagination. So first of all is that, let me show you what I want to introduce so that you understand what's going on. Whenever you have query like this and you want to introduce pagination, the data itself or the endpoint itself needs to be able to know which page you are dealing with, at every point in time to know, like, am I in page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, like that. So it means we need to introduce another parameter that will be global in all our endpoints. It will be global in all our endpoints. That will say page, right, 1. So this page 1 means the first record. So in a database, when you have a record like so, let me open the database. So if you have a record, let me even go to where I have list of assets. So this itself is, so if you have record 1 to 10 or 1 to this number, this is page 1. So if you go to the next batch, that makes it page 2. If you go to the next batch, that makes it page 3. So that's what page means, you know, so page 1. Now, apart from the fact that you have page, you also have how many records are available on the page. So what term are we going to call that? So most times you can call it limits, or you can call it total records. No, not total records. So let's say size. Yes, most times it's called size. So size is 10. Size means 10 records per page. That's what size means. So what you are doing in essence is that, hey, you are telling this endpoint to say, go and get me this, go and get me work order that has all these parameters, and look at the, return the first page of size 10. That's what you are saying here. Imagine if you want to do next page, you will now say page 2 of size 10, page 3 of size 10, page 4 of size 10, like that. That's how you continue. So what that means is that you are controlling the pagination from the client side. All this data is being supplied by the client side as React, while, what's it called, Golang is just treating all this information. So we've added new section, which is page ID and size. So I don't need to crack my head to try and fix it. I will just tell the AI to do for me. One of the things is that I don't trust this IDE to do a good job in, but let me just try and trust it for now to see if it will do a good job for me in providing pagination for me. So I'll just come here and tell it, add pagination to this function. So okay, so I'll just be limited. I don't want to give it too much stuff, but most times it's very good for you to be as detailed as possible by saying that, oh, I want page to be the first, what's it called now, to be the name of the page 1. I think I've started having issue with this guy now. Maybe they've discovered I'm using them too much, and then they don't want me to be able to use it again. So they've been limiting me. I've discovered that they've been limiting me of recent. So let me do it the old school way. So add pagination to this and update the documentation. Okay, so I've just asked ChatGPT the old way to do it for me. So even though that one is even more faster, and I depend, or rather I prefer ChatGPT more. It gives me more accurate information than this guy. So I'm even looking at having an alternative or changing it at some point, which I'm really working towards. Okay, so what I'll do is I have a result. I'll just copy and paste, and then you guys will see the difference. We'll look at it together. Okay, apparently, let's see what it has done, and then let's walk through it. So it has added the 2 section. So even though it says page, I don't like the word page size. Now the advantage of saying page size is because we have so many parameters. So let's stick to page size, which is cool. By default, if you do not specify page, it will default to 1. We also have something here. If you did not specify page size, it will default to 10. So I think 20 is better to start with. So I'll put it to 20. So it means we'll have to manually change it in the code. You will see where it will be in the code. So there will be where it will feature itself. It should raise its head up around here. So this is it defaulting to 1 and this is it defaulting to 10. So I'll just change this to 10. We need to import stuff here. This guys is for conversion in case if you have a string there. So this is where the pagination stuff is happening. This is to hard reset. You can't request for more than 100 pages at the same time, so that they will not go and break your server. So this is a hard reset. Then, so if page size is less than 0, okay, this is still another hard reset here. So that you don't have minus something. So I do another hard reset here. So I'm limiting it to 20. So this is the calculation. Normally, I'm gonna call this. This is supposed to be like a function. This pagination effect is gonna be a function that we can call. Remember that this is not the only stuff we're gonna be doing. We're gonna be doing work order. We're gonna be doing assets. There's gonna be a lot of call we're gonna be making. So this is supposed to be like a function I could just call and return the status of things. Now, this is supposed to get the total of the work order. Okay, this is just doing counting with all the story that you have there. I hope it's applying all the query we have here. So I think it would have applied all the query we would have done up there. Yep, once you apply it, it just gives a single count, like saying, oh, without pagination, you have 500 data. Without pagination, that's what it's doing here. And it's putting the total there. Now, this is limiting our results so that we don't get bloated stuff. And then inserting everything inside WOS. This work order, whatever. And at the end, it's giving us this stuff, which is not clean. I don't like this. So I don't like this. I'm gonna clean up this the way I want it. So of course, you know, we're gonna do some exercise ourselves. Now, what this is doing is of course, I'm sure you understand what this is. It's trying to tell you the page size, because you will need this in the client side to also present the data to know where you are and everything like that. So most times I've gone ahead to create this work order response. So this work order response is supposed to be a structure where you can see correct information. I know all those things sounding like jargons, but let me try and see where I can explain that information. Okay, so this is still not giving me what I want. So let me try and see if I can pull that information out. Let me run Swagger initialization. So that is what is causing that output to come out that way. Backend. So let me run swag initialize so that I can show you what I'm talking about. Now let's look at it from assets. Now this is searching of assets. Let's try to now see how the response look like. Unfortunately, we've gone to change this one, but I think it should still give me what I'm looking at. Okay, good. This is what I'm talking. Go out, sets, and all those things like that. This is array of work order. Now, inside this data, we are supposed to have where we'll get all this section here. I guess we can start by this first. But I don't want to have tautology of data, because inside here, we already have something that talks to the report. Okay, let me maintain this for now. I will maintain this. I will make some alteration to it. So let's make changes. So page size, we have this format. This is what we've been using so far. And then let's just be consistent in using something like this in our JSON representation when we are sending this data to the backend. This is what we've been using. So total items, I don't know why we're saying total items. Let me just say total. Then even this one is supposed to just be size, and here is supposed to be pages. So this one is like the first page. This is to know all the pages available. Like I said, we're going to call this a function later, but we just want to test and see what's going on, what we have here. So let's run our quick test. So if I do, I think I should call this thing size. I don't like the page size thing. I don't know. Let me just use page size. So let's run this guy. So if we run a request, we have this. Now, this is what I was fighting against. Data. This is what I was fighting against. So you have data because the struct on its own gives this format where you have MSG, data, and error. So inside it, you now have another data. Then you now have, let me clean all the data set first. Should be at 10. Let's see, so that you see the other one. So inside this data, yes, this is the data that holds the work order. You now have the page, the pages. Pages means that all the pages are available, the size that is you are requesting per page, and then you have total. So it means all the work order result is 7. We have 7 work orders inside here. That's what it's saying. And then we requested for like maximum of 20. Okay, so that's what is going on here. I just don't like the fact that I have data here. But I may not just have anything to do. I may just not have any other choice than to leave it like this. Okay. So let's clean up 1 or 2 things and then we'll leave it like this and we move on. Let's see, what else do we want to clean up here? All this looks good. Is there anything that comes to mind? So we'll leave it up data like that. So let me play with this and say I wanted to return 2 results per time, right? And then I'm still in page 1. Let's see the results. So this is returning 2 results. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, what's happening here? It's returning more than what I asked it to return. So something is definitely going on. And this is the testing part of the whole thing. So the page size is supposed to return is 2, meaning 2 record. Something is definitely wrong. Let's go and see what is happening. So the limit is not gelling for some reason. Are we passing the right thing to it? Let me see the parameter, page size. So query default. So what I'm checking is I'm not seeing it when it's calling it's not getting the page. Okay. So what I want to do is, I don't think it's getting this page size at all. I don't think it's getting this page size at all from the URL. So what I want to do for now is just to say 2, 3. Let me just say 3 because I don't have time to test too much. So let's run. So I have 1. I have 1 work order there. I have 2 work order. Then I have 3 work orders. So, so what I've discovered is that what we supply to it here is not what it's responding to. I don't think it's case sensitive. URL shouldn't be case sensitive. Page size. Am I getting my spelling correctly? Okay, I think I was missing something, but let's try it again. Let me say 1 per request and then let's see the results. So is this responding to only 1? Okay, I think it's working now. So this is working very well. So we're sending in 1 per page. So our next result will be like this. So page 2. This is like page 2. We are still requesting 1 page. So our page 2, this number has changed from what it is. So pagination is working well right now. We are good. Our pagination is working just fine. Now the next thing for us to do is to go to the front end. Like I said, I'm going to clean up this one offline. So not online because there's a lot of cleanup to do. This needs to be a proper function. This needs to be a more robust object. Okay, so let's go to how we are going to treat this one in the backend, in the front end section, because we have to mimic this new data structure. We need to mimic this data structure inside TypeScript. You know, we're using TypeScript to do all these things we are doing. Okay, let's go to TypeScript and start with our first error. So if we come here and try to shake things up, I don't know which is gonna break first. You guys can see that it is broken. The whole thing is broken. So fortunately, I can't even see what the error is, but I don't need someone to tell me that we've broken something. So let's go ahead and start the fix. Obviously, one of the thing that broke was because the data we're returning is totally different from what we're expecting. Now we have with Pagination. So that's with the help of this guy. We need to do something that looks like this. So we go to our model. I think I have something that's types. I call it types. And then I start restructuring this type here. These are our work order. This remain unchanged primarily because our work order should always look like this. But what we added to it was pagination kind of effect. So I need to create pagination kind of a thing inside. Looking at the best way to approach this is to, let me copy and paste this stuff. So it's supposed to look like this. So this is supposed to contain objects. I don't want to say work order for now. Okay. Numeric, and obviously numeric. Okay, so this, let's just say work order for now. He has formatted it for me. I hope you do change this to work order. What will I even call it? Work orders with paging. Does this name make sense? Okay, so let me take it to ChatGPT to give it, to create the TypeScript name for me. So I'm going to, this is what we're using. So we can call it work order response. But the problem is that, yeah, okay, this one is when we're having multiple records, it will come this way. I can remove, but now I'm just looking for a name to call it. I don't like the word work order response. Work order, for now, for lack of a better word, we'll leave it at work order response, but this name can change later. So this will mimic what we are expecting from the backend. So I'm going to copy this object. That's what we're going to use in respect to this. So where did we go and make the work order requests? So this is it here. I think that's where we did use effects. This is the work order type. This is the hook. So here inside the hook, we're going to change all these things inside this hook, by the way. In fact, we're going to change it right away. So now, instead of returning work order, array of work order, guess what we're going to return? We're going to return work order response, because work order response now will now contain page and everything. But in the case of a single work order, it's free to return normal work order. Okay, so let's start fixing. And this, we're still gonna change all these things that is here. Everything, we're still gonna change it. But for now, I just want to do as few things as I can do at the same time. So this one is for single work order, so I can minimize it. Then this one is to fetch multiple work order. Good. We're gonna change this one, but I just want to, in fact, the endpoint does not even exist anymore. Wow. So this is gonna be here like so. But I'm still getting error. Interesting. What was your error? Okay, we've not brought it in as a type. So they're not array now. Okay. So I don't think this one is it's an array. Okay, so that is that, but that does not solve anything yet. So this guy is complaining. Okay, I think this one was done of recent. Okay, so I'm gonna remove that filter. I think that's newly added. We're still going to come back to update the interface, by the way. So let me filter this one away for now. We are still having some errors to deal with. Okay. I need to go back and undo that thing. Something is up. Work order is possibly undefined. So this one is supposed to be data inside the work order. So where is this guy coming from? It's coming from this work order use effect. So this one is now a response and it's undefined. So we want to go inside it and pick the work order. Okay. Let's go inside it and pick the work order instead. So this is supposed to be I'll pick the data inside it. Okay. Let me see the error we have here. Let me go back to our use effects. Now, the problem is that we are actually, I think we should return the work orders that we have instead of returning the response. Yes. Let's return the work order that we have instead of returning the response. Okay. So this just remain what it is. Now, the data that is being returned here is not work order. So the data that is returned here is work order response. So we have this inside here. So I'm not gonna blow my head like this. This one will not fix this thing. No. This is not what I want to do. Okay. But the data I want to pick is this work order. If I do it like this, I will end up not getting the pagination effects. Okay, so let's do it a different way. We have to rewrite several things. So let's go ahead and rewrite several things. So if we do it like this, we are going to miss out on several things. So let's go back to, we're going to leave this one like this. It's going to remain like this. This is going to be our data. Let's go back to the interface. And first of all, change some of the things that we have here. I'm going to change some of the things that we have here. So I want to automatically send some information for correction. So we're reworking these two pages. We're starting from scratch actually to rework these two pages. So first of all, we want to work on the hook. So the hook itself is going to use another method to design it. We're going to use another method to call the hook. So let me look for the go respond. Where is the REST API? Where is the hook again for the, that's the main.go. So what I want to do now is I'm rebuilding the hook. So the hook is important. So once we finish rebuilding the hook, we will be able to do other things. So that's where I am right now. So I just sent this for rebuilding. So from there, let me see the information that we have. We'll be changing quite a lot of things. So this is the new update that we have, and we are going to be filtering by, these are the filters that we have, right? And we have status, asset, workflow, priority, and description. This is work order description. Okay, so this is definition. So whatever filter that will pass to it will be what it will be done. If we eventually pass an ID, it means we wanted to get a particular work order. So this is the what will result into loading and everything. Now we are building the query. Remember I told you guys about the fact that we need to build the query from the front end. We're also going to do the UI, but let's first do the use effect. So this is the filter. We're checking if this parameter were passed in the usage of whatever we want to do. If it is passed, well, we put it there and we use it to build our, this is to do the pagination, right? I told you that we're going to also check the pagination thing. So this is doing the pagination thing for us, and know when to send the next pagination and what have you. This is the endpoint that is going to call, and at the end it does what it needs to do and sets the page, because you also need to know the page in which you are. So there should be, yes, there's it here. So there's a use state that keeps the page of where we are. Okay, so long story, I told it what we want to do, so it's building it for us. This is fetching single work order, which is straightforward, no story, just passing the work order there. So look at what he finally concluded, is that we are sending a particular work order into the work order. So we are not doing work order response. However, we use the work order response, but not in that scenario. We still get the work order response. Let me show you. That's under this part here. Yes, we still get the data as work order response. However, we treated it separately and say, oh, inside the work order response, we want to get the data out and put inside work order. We set other things. We need other parts of the response, because we are also going to need the total and everything. It used the pages. You can see that it also used the pages to do what it needs to do. It also used, what other thing does it use? It's not using some interesting parts, but it doesn't matter. We'll get to see how it looks at later, but we'll have those information to ourselves. We can reuse other parts as we need. Now this is supposed to be the use effect. The next thing is to update the work order page itself. So I'm going to give it this information. So what I want to do now is to allow you to give us the work order page, and then we'll see where we go from there. So we're totally rebuilding everything from scratch technically. This is the work order page, and let's see what it did for us. Even though it has not given us an interface, let me see what it has for us. Quite a lot of stuff it has changed. So we have a work, it doesn't need to create an interface for work order again. We already have this work order settled. We already have this settled. We already have this one settled as well. So of course it has stumbled on several errors. We are going to respond to that by importing. So let me just focus on fixing the code. So I'm going to respond to that by importing work order response. So we import the type. I'm surprised that it has a separate name that you call it. Okay, so that is that. The next thing that we have is page. Okay, so all these are not showing on the interface yet. So I'm trying, okay, we have an error somewhere too. Oh, we have all this one missing. So let's fix all this error that's showing. Now the response is inside the data. We map each of them to work order. Okay, so these are not the name that is used to. We have the ID and we have the ID again. We have the description. Then we have status. I don't know why I'm comfortable using. Is this how I call it in the name? Well, I need to go and research on proper naming for this object. I think I'm doing a very bad job in the way I'm naming my property here. I think I need to research on that. Priority, then dates opened. Okay, this date open seems not to be correct. So it looks like, do we have, let me see that date opened. Oh, I'm even looking at the wrong thing. Work order, okay, date opened. So what is the issue here? So the issue here is that okay, why is he using table for me? This guy just for my hand. So I deleted that date open. We're gonna fix it later. He just went to go and build a database, I mean a desktop application for me. Ha, this guy. So we are not getting our results. Now this is when we turn to web, because we need to see what is happening. So we need to use the web version to see what is going on in the system. That way you can easily debug, because with your mobile you are not seeing quite a lot of things. So we can actually go into the dev mode and see what is happening. So that will give you an idea of what's happening here. So we have issue with the map. So it's possible that the data coming in is not recognized as an array. So we have issue here. So the issue here is that we have the response, we have the data, the map. So before we go into that, let's even see if our data is being called and it's reporting anything. So that's from here. Now you can see that the data is returning an HTML jargons. So the error that is coming up is that, that's interesting. So this is what is returning. It's not calling the endpoint. It can't call the endpoint, which is somehow weird. So it's calling it. So this is what I'm sending. This is what it's getting. So it's sending. It's not supposed to be calling 3000. It's supposed to be. This is what it's supposed to be getting. So, but we're getting the wrong thing. So that tells me that the implementation of the use case or use work order is wrong. It did some nasty thing there. So API gets, it did some things that were wrong here. Now one of the things it did was, it was not supposed to use, which API is he using? Yeah, he's using our API. Which URL is he using? Okay, what was the endpoint? The endpoint is this, which is okay. So the issue now is that the system is using the wrong ports. 3000. So let me see where that is the case. So this is the backend. This is capacitor. This is But all this while, so this, I need to know what is happening here. I need to know the endpoint that is calling here. But let me check again. It's not supposed to be using 3000. That is the problem. So API URL is being controlled from our environment variable here in the front end. I'm looking for my environment variable in my front end and it's eluding me. Yes, there's it here. So this is what it's supposed to be using, which is correct. 9090. However, for some reason, it's not using 9090 in calling my endpoints. Okay, we're gonna get to the root of this issue. Let's see how it's calling one or two things. Let me check code source for assets. Okay, we've not called other things apart from this. So let me quickly check something else to see where the funny business is happening. Let me check if I did work order and do this and see what it will say. The server is at 1990, not 3000. So I have no idea where it's picking 3000 from. And I didn't make any changes to the server configuration, so it shouldn't be picking 3000. So what we will do is we'll hand code the we uncode it because we have to move on, and then I'll resolve it later. Now that is, we'll go to the API here and uncode it here for now, because that's where it's supposed to be picking the endpoint from. And if it's not picking the endpoint from there, it means something is seriously going on. So we're supposed to have this to be this 1990, and where are the other things I wanted to put there? Yes, everything like this is supposed to be what is supposed to be there. For some reason, it ain't speaking that. So let me give it a try again and see what it does. Apparently it has asked me to log in again, maybe because of that change. So I think we have the password somewhere in here. It has also requested for us to do the same on the mobile application. Okay, fingers crossed. I hope it works. So apparently it's still not working. You can still see that it's taking us to port 3000 even after hand coding the solution into this scenario. So that makes me believe that something else is fishy. So it's time to start figuring out what is there. So let me Let me try and figure out what is wrong, because I've tried it myself, but it's not working. So what we'll do is that we have to manually, for now, we have to do all the manual thing we can do for now, and later I'll try and figure out what's going on. So if we go back to, I need to bring out the endpoint again, and this time around I'll put it inside here. Now let me now see what we will make up of this. So it will now be inside here. Let me see how we treat this. I'm not even supposed to put endpoint as a constant here. Okay, let's run this and see. Yeah, it's still not working. Okay, so let me try something, because the code was working before. Let me see what was there before. I thought as much. Yeah, this is exactly what was there before. Okay. Work code down. I'm trying to figure out what happened to it. From working to not working. Okay, so let me check some things. Where I have the endpoint, I want to do several debugging to check what's happening. I think this, let me first do something like this to see what's happening first. I'm trying to debug the issue. So that's because something is wrong with the API call. So let me do a kind of I want to do a kind of a test. To see what is going on. So if I do this, this is working very well. This got executed. Or is it because it's having the same name as... Let me try something. Let me try an endpoint that does not exist. Let me try that endpoint. It's not even responding to me. Okay, I think the problem is the way we're building the parameter. So this parameter, I think I know where the problem is. I think so. This is what is causing the issue. I think the problem is coming from here.
Yeah. Can you comment it out to try it first? If it will work.
I'm coming. So the issue is that because of what we are trying to do, I've seen the issue. I've seen the issue. So the problem is coming from build query, right? So that's where the issue is coming from. So if I go to this one, so I should actually remove this build query. It's still giving us tough time. Okay, but at least we are getting closer to the issue. Because it's not supposed to be using port 300, but the reason why it's trying to use port 300 is because I want to get the query that was passed, this query. So I need to not send query with it. So this is where the stuff is coming from now. So this part is, let me try and remove this one and see. Is it even running? Let me restart. Let me restart this thing. Because I don't understand if it's still running what we are running the same thing. Maybe it's running his own thing. I don't know. Let me make sure that I'm running the same server. Okay. So let's try it again now. It's still calling for 3000. Okay. Which one is this one again? It is to get work orders. It's not supposed to be calling. This is calling the endpoint correctly, but work order. Can this guy be causing the issue? Report from the front end. This is where the problem is coming from now. This one is also sending the issue. This is where the problem is coming from. We are supposed to be doing API gets, not the other way around. This is where the problem is coming from. Because this API is what gets the parameter, not what it's trying to do. So we've done a lot of debugging that was not necessary from this part. So I'm going to undo what we've done and fix this one. Okay, so let's check. We're going to replace all this. I've told it to do some basic information for me. So let's see what it gives us. So it's working technically to some point. I don't know if it's going to work. Okay. After 10 years of suffering, it's working now. So apparently I missed out on important information. So on the client side that is calling it, we're supposed to be calling using API, not Axio. We're just sitting down here. And even this one was wrong. It's not supposed to be calling it using this one. It's supposed to be calling it using, this is wrong. It's not supposed to be using its own call. It's supposed to be using the use work order callback. That's supposed to be what's supposed to be using, not its own request. So I didn't expect it to be using this. That's why we sat here trying to correct this one. I didn't expect to see this here. This is wrong. So I just told it to use, and that's one of the pitfalls of AI. That's just one of the pitfalls. But let's go ahead and let's continue. So I've told it to remove this. This is not necessary. That's the purpose of having use work order hook. We are trying to use the hook now. So I'm going to replace this with the hook. Trying to do that, we are back to the beginning. Okay, hopefully we will not suffer too much. Hopefully. So let's bring in the hook. Where the hook there now? Okay, so apparently it worked almost immediately. So failed to status 404. It didn't work. Oh, okay, we'll fix that one. So you can see that it came with pagination, but I will fix that one as time permits. But let's go ahead and start fixing other things. So this hook allows you to provide the filters, but the page, what happened? Is there no page in the hook? There's no page in the hook. Okay. So we don't have, okay, so let's add that. So if you notice, there's no page. I think there's size, but there's no page in the hook itself. So that needs to update. And I think it's doing that for us. And it has messed it up again. Okay. So it's messing up some things there, but we'll get to that later. I want to see what it did differently here. I told it to add something for us, which it did. It had pages. So I'm trying to check the issues we have. First of all, we need to know who is managing what. So I think it's better for the components to be managing the pagination itself instead of the so we still have issue with this one here. Okay, so I think this is the way it's supposed to be implemented. So let's fix the fact that nothing is showing, because it's saying page not found, and that is as a result of maybe our endpoints not being supplied correctly. So it's saying that we have the endpoint is saying, okay, so I probably entered the wrong thing there on purpose, because at the point where we're having issues, I had to check what is going on there. think I've closed everything now. Okay. So this has to be work orders. So this is supposed to be air, while this is the backend. See the front end. Okay, so this is working now. Now the part that we need now is to be able to, let's even query it and see that the query is working. Now this took forever. So if we say open, immediately we click on open, it filtered everything for us. So our query is working. Immediately we say LG, nothing like LG. Let's say air, no air. Let's say water. So maybe because we are being strict, let's remove the priority. We have things on water, but we can't say, yeah, this is water, for example. This is water. So our filter is working very well. Let's say closed. Remove the description. Let's type monthly. Yes, this is working superb. Now the next part we want to work on is our filter section, or rather our pagination. Now the pagination should, let me reduce the number of pagination we have there. I don't know if I should do, I think we should just do something very simple. We've spent so much time on this for now. So what I want to implement is next, a floating button to handle next. So a floating button will be on the bottom right. So there will be next and previous. Let me show you what is here. So you see it. There's something here already. Yes, which is here. Next, page one, and previous. That's what we will be doing. We'll be putting it on the bottom so it can float, and the user can easily use their hand to navigate. But before we do that, I don't want to click on apply. So on search, it will work on that. So this should be, how do I implement this one in a UI like matter? Okay, so let's go back to mobile. Let's go back to mobile. I'm looking at the way I can implement this thing. That will make sense. Okay, so let me start. I think we are good with the use effect. Let me go in with the mobile app, then I will continue. We still have one thing we need to achieve actually, and that thing is we need to actually achieve that UI look. So let me log in on the mobile app. $72.86. So if we do work order now, this is what we are seeing. This is what we are seeing, which is totally not good enough based on what we want to see. Okay, so let me rework the interface some points. This apply button should not be there, it should just be directly. It should be a drop down, but we can't provide it with a lot of the departments available for now. Okay, let me give it all the information that I need. So this is the work order page. I have the list of departments. So the department should be I hope this one will work, because yes, I hope it will go. Okay, it's working. So this is what I'm using. So you should be able to pick that. Aha, that's good. So we are done with departments. So we're manually adding the departments. The same thing with the unit as well. So this one should be with insert. Use select. Okay. So this is also good. So if you don't want to select anything, you go on this. So if you want this, you do that. Okay, so we are good with all these ones. The rest can be searched, which is okay. Now, what else I want to do is to put this inside a scrollable horizontal stuff instead of it being like this. So I will just provide that information and say
Hello, sir.
I'm there. Don't worry.
Oh, okay, sir.
Okay, so what I wanted to do is to change this. This is not supposed to be here. It's supposed to be horizontally scrolled, and then the page next left and right should be floating horizontally. So that's what I just made a prompt to do for me, and I hope it's not gonna mess up what is here already. So it has messed it up. as usual. So what did it do? Okay, try to bring in, okay, try to create a CSS for us, which is not bad. Okay, let's go and create the CSS. Okay, let me see if it will even create it for me. Create file. Okay, better. So this is what I told it to do for me, but it doesn't need to use. If I do this, I can do this IT, and it doesn't need to make it 100%. It doesn't need, but that's by the way. I don't like this thing is not showing. The nest is not showing. So let me remove the filter that I put here. So I'm not seeing the nest and previous. But I thought I saw it just now. I thought I saw it immediately. It came up. It's not showing. Let me make sure that I don't think it's speaking this page. This guy is not picking this page, oh. Okay, it's not picking the. I can't see the button, but let me manually put the button myself because I don't know where I go through the button put. So now let's look for the button. So that's the button there. It has done its own thing. Floating, pagination float, that's what it calls it, but we can't see it at work. Okay, so you put it at the bottom. Let me say it's red. So let me say bottom 20, 30. It's still not showing. So another way to make it show is to search for something that does not exist. Okay, so let me first make it here. Yes, let's do it this way. So I don't need a background. Okay, this is what it's doing now, but I want it to have a float effect because the effect is giving me, I don't like it. Now how do I style individual button? Okay, let me do it like so. But it's supposed to even be putting bottom. Where is the shadow? Why is it putting all these things? Who send you work? But okay. so let me do next. Okay, so that feels better. So I know the reason why the color is like that, because it's disabled. So I want to see when it's enabled, but unfortunately the styling is not. Okay, so let me say bottom, top. So something is wrong with our item. It's not allowing us to, it's not fixing it on the bottom where I want it to fix. So I have to make sure that I'm not searching for anything. It has to be there irrespective. Okay. Index. Where is this guy? Okay, got you. Better. Okay, so you're supposed to be okay, so this is what I was expecting to do. So you can easily just push forward and do something like this. Yes, this is what I want to do. So if you want to go back, you should be able to do this and go back. So this is better than scrolling to the bottom. So we can easily manage this aspect like so without breaking a lot of things. Now I need to create a kind of future here, because let me see, and this will be available on all the pages, by the way. So this creates a kind of pattern which all other ones will follow. So there's this blur, okay, background. So there's this blur stuff I want to do. Blur the background. Yeah, that's the effect I want to give, but I need to make that effect. The blur is too much. Yes, I like that. But it's going to, okay, so let's do 90. I think the search can even come inside here. Search. Okay, so well, we'll work to that. But the colors is kind of, so let's go into one of them. Okay, we'll disable all those click events. Okay. So this is the paging. Pagination is working. Of course, the loading effect is terrible. The loading methodology is terrible. I don't like that loading effect, so I'm gonna change it very soon. Just want to make sure that I'm cool with the style sheets. I don't like the color. Why is that color like that? So info primary. So it should be primary. So if no more data, set to mute. So let me hide if no next or previous. Let me just see what it will do. So the if there's no more next to click, you should just hide it. So let me go to page 1. That will give us an idea of what to do. So that's it. It will just hide that information there. Then once we get to the last page as well, it will do the same thing. But instead of hide, like this, instead of hide, we should actually just disabled. Okay, that's what is there. It's actually disabled. Okay, it's disabled. That's what it runs there. The color is a little bit different. So that's disabled. Okay, so this scrolling here, I need to change the size of the filter element is too much. Yes, the size is too much. So I want to show 1.5 at least, so that the okay. So I want to show more than one item. Let me see what we'll do here. That's not what I'm trying to achieve. Yes, this is what I'm trying to achieve. So that someone will know that they can scroll. Yes, this is what I'm trying to achieve. And then I don't need to use apply. So I can delete the apply button, because it's actually responding as we make changes. There's no need to click on apply. Now the loading is supposed to be using our overlay. Which error is this? So we just got an error. So let's disable this. So we're not refreshing for now. So let's get our overlay function to be working, or rather overlay components. That's loading. Okay, so if I can remember how we used it last time, instead of this boring loading stuff that we have, we just have something like this. Then we'll say loading. Then I can what are the props? Show. Okay, so let's give it a try. If you go next, this is what we expect. That's what we expect, but I don't want it to cover everything, but it's better than what we were saying before. Okay, so this is better than what we have before. So let's go ahead, guys, and continue what we're doing. So at least the pagination is better, but I'll still do much work on the styling. So the styling is still not giving me a good vibe. So yes, this one is, I like what I'm seeing here. I like what I'm seeing here. Yeah, later will be, even though I can search by department and unit, it's not anybody that is supposed to be able to go in and do all this crazy search by criteria. So yeah, there are some fixed requisition or requests we will have to do automatically. Let me search for water. Water. It's not allowing me to type. Is that a mobile thing? Okay, let's go ahead, guys. Let's go ahead. So let me go to, what else do I need to implement here? We've actually implemented technically everything we wanted to do. Let me look at the UI again so that the UI can give us kind of inspiration, and then we finalize. So this is what we are able to do. I didn't put dates for now, so we can move this one to the middle, but I will leave it as it is. We don't have to copy everything in total. But what I noticed is that there's dates. We didn't put date on the interface. So I will just tell this guy to help me redo it, to put the, I think I should do it myself, right? I think I should do the interface thing myself so that I can get to see what is going on. So let me kind
So
of
what about the search?
What about which one?
The search button.
So this has taken care of search. Technically, this has taken care of search. So if you look at it, in fact, if you want to search for anything else, you can also put it there. Now, I didn't want to make a very crazy search that will be one text search all. I could do that. What that means is that there will be a section for just search, and then you will just search all. So see, we have several methods in which we can use, but I just want to use one simple one and go on. Trust me. Like, we can do something like when we click on this search, it's not going to bring a page out, and then you now start fixing things. That's crazy. But I just want to provide something as simple as ABC. So what are the typical things you search for in work order? The asset, the description. Boom, we're good to go, right? So this is a search, even though when you are filtering, you're also searching, by the way. If you don't know, if you are filtering, you're also searching. So that's that. What I want to work on now, I'm trying to look at, I think what I want to, okay, I will not work on that. I was thinking of designing the page very well, but I will not spend time on that. I want to focus on technicality, and then you carry on from there. I want to focus on technicality and you carry on from there, because if you look at this now, I wanted to put the asset name on top. You can see that this is the asset name. So the asset name, in fact, there's no asset here. It's not displaying the assets, if you notice. But I'm sure you know how to get those information, because those information is coming from the back end already. So you already have those information. So that shouldn't be difficult. In terms of where should be, you can use the idea of what's happening here. When we try to bring in the date didn't come here. I just drop it, but we can go and get all those things from the back end. Okay, so let's quickly continue and see what else we need to achieve, so that before we call it a night. We've been able to, we've really scratched this off. We've not scratched anything. We've not even done the dashboard. We've not done charts. This one, like I said, you can see that this one is looking nice because it has color. So you need to do this one like that too. Do you understand? Because I I don't like you working with sample data. There's nothing like working with the real thing, right? Let's work with the real thing. So instead of the sample data. So by next time, I assume the work order would not have the real data and look as nice as this, right? So have the real thing. I already encoded most of the things there. The status there are not much, open, close, and also they are open, close, suspended. I think you have the data, so you can look at all the status, and it pretty looks cool like this. So let's look at what other thing do we want to do? So let's clean up some stuffs and prepare you for assets. Asset has its own dynamism, right? Let's clean up some stuffs and prepare you for assets. So your task is to update the UI to make it look good, add the color and everything like that, and then complete the assets. So let's clean up the work order in preparation for what you want to do. Let's go ahead quickly and then we'll call it a night. So let's look at the code and see what we need to do. Now, do you notice how simple it is to do the overlay? I don't want to spend too much time on the overlay section, so I'm just leaving that for now. And by the way, you saw the way we did everything that we did. Most of the thing we used was ChatGPT, and that doesn't mean that you should depend fully on it. You saw that it put us into trouble at some point. So that's why sometimes I say that you can, if you use AI, sometimes you might need to also go back to the beginning and redo it again sometimes. What it does is that it just quickly spin up a lot of code for you, and I know that I've seen that you've been using it a lot, but not relying too much on it. You also need to be able to do your own thing. Okay, so let's see the cleanup that we need to do on the part of the system. So we have the hook. The hook is working well now. Now, what that means is that you need to create your own hook for assets. This use work order hook. Let me explain what is going on in the use order work order hook. Now, the first thing is that you have your filter. Your filter is what sorts what needs to happen. So whatever you impute in your filter, the system will update it. Each of the elements here is tied to this. So as you update anything here, it updates into this section and it feeds itself inside the use work order. That's what is happening. Then here is what we are limiting our page to, like size 10. So you can change that from your component, work order page component. You can change that. We're trying to do a lot of things from the use work order before, but it's better to do here. So when the filter updates, this is what happens when you update the filter. When you change stuff from the stuff, it sets this is just to handle filter change, to go and do search. And the way React work, once you change one thing, everything will go and update themselves. So React is crazy, right? So this one was apply. We don't need that apply button, so automatically everything just works. When you change anything, it just does what it needs to do. Now this is what is happening when you update. You can see the filter, whatever value it is that you update, that's what is happening here. Each of the elements is tied to the button here, so that one is doing its own thing. For now, we encoded all these things. Literally, we're supposed to call all the database, all the table from database, but like I said, we are doing this thing fast. So there are some things we'll just pull fixed. The same thing with units. All the units are fixed. So here there are more status. There is suspended. There's suspended, and I think there is parts on hold. So we have all those things there. Okay, now the next thing we wanted to go to is which other parts? Yes, we have this one. Okay, the next one is the filter, the same criteria here. Now we just implement the same thing. Okay, the next part is list of assets. Of course, this is free text, as in just search, right? So you can just type anything. The same thing with description, you just search. So this was the apply button, which we don't need. Now the next thing is the overlay function that we did. And the overlay, you can say, let me even try to manipulate something. Let me put the overlay after and then see the results. Okay, still giving me the same thing. Yes, I don't want the overlay to disrupt this, but I want the overlay to cover from here to here. But like I said, don't think about it too much. Focus on having a lot of things done very well. So this is the card for all the work order, right? So whatever information we have, it will be spilled into this work order. So this work order map, work orders, we already know what this work orders is. Okay, so this is the floating pagination thing that we did, right? So that we can have it floated here. And you know your hand is close to the bottom of the phone. So it's better this way. Your hand is close to the bottom of the phone. So it's good for you to have it here so that you can just quickly press next or next, next or previous. And you don't want to use text. It's better this way. So let's move on to the next thing. And I think that's just it. This can also be a component, but for now, let's just, take it easy. So this can actually be a component and wire all these things into it. These guys can be an input. All these things can be an input and move next. Okay, now let's look at the assets and preparation for the development of your own section for assets. This is the assets. You need to prepare your own, you need to prepare yourself for this. So for the asset, this view is not bad because there will be images. So this view is not bad for the asset. And location is also key. I'm going to show you the endpoints for the assets and what you will be expecting to see. Let's do a request for the assets so that you see what's going on. Now, if you call the assets, let's say we are searching for assets. So by default, you should be using something like this. So you can see that this is similar to all this one. So you do copy and paste when you are doing the use work order, but we'll show you something now. Now look at the assets. Very importantly, an asset can have multiple locations. Do you see? And then as it is having the location, you will now have the status if it's online or not. So I just discovered something. We did not say what the location name is. So we didn't say the location name. So we can quickly fix that by going to Golang under main, and where we have this get assets. Now the stuff is from here. When we are preloading locations, we are supposed to have the name of the locations. That is deep. So let's first go and see assets itself. Inside assets, we are getting asset location. Asset location itself, there is what we call location ID. So we are joining location inside asset location. I hope you're not confused. So let's join. We are missing location table. There's nothing like location table here. There's nothing like location table. So let's quickly create location table to house that. Let me just ask this guy to create it for me. This thing sometimes it will make you lazy. Eh? Let's just create it ourselves, Jerry. So we just do something like this, and this now become location. Then this become location. Then we have the name, and because of the name we did do all this one. So this one becomes this. becomes this. We might still come back and change all this name later. So this now become location. But the point of doing all this is because we want to tie this location inside asset location. How do we do that? So it's a one-to-one stuff. So I will just copy and paste. I don't want to break my head right now. So we have a one-to-one also reference to something like this that we did. This is assets. This is why I did basic assets. Just ignore this one for now. Okay. So I can now do location. The foreign key is location ID. What I want to call it is location. That's here. What I want to call the name. Should I call it location or lock? Okay, let me say location. Now, the next thing I want to do. I hope this will work. Oh, I'm about to perform a magic now. Now, this is locations here. These locations, you see where it's coming from. Now, that's how I was able to preload it like this. Oh, locations. If you do otherwise, it will not come. This preload here, it has to be the name of this before it will now load these asset locations. Okay, now you will ask me the question, how will it now load this one? You have to also preload it. But just to demonstrate something to you, let's call the endpoints so that you see what's going on. So if I call the endpoint here, where's the rest guy? Okay, so the rest guy is here. Where's the rest guy? So if I call it again now, notice something, the name is blank. That's what I think I've demoed this thing to you guys before. The name is blank. The name will always come blank because we did not preload data. He knows that he needs to go, he knows that we are joining location to it, but we did not preload it. Preload happens here. So let me show you how to preload that. We just did just preload locations. Now you want to preload locations dot location. It's very confusing, but don't worry. Once you start doing these things, it will become second nature. Let's see, hopefully it works. Yep, it works. So that's it. Now you now have, let's start from the beginning. You have LG AC air condition that has all this property and is available in these locations. It's available in room I1. It's available in room I2, like that. But let's now, remove some things that we don't need. Like for example, now there is repetition between this location ID and also this ID. Remember that this is a particular table on its own, and this one is the same, this primary key, this foreign key. So you don't need to maintain both of them. You can just remove one. Just remove one of it. Okay, so how do we do that? We come to the definition. Now inside here, this is not necessary. This is the one that is showing the other one. We don't need this one per se. So let me remove this one. To do that, just say dash. So that is not, won't come up when you are doing your request anymore. If you now run your requests, you shouldn't have that information there anymore. So you just have this. So that's cool. Okay, now enough of that. Let's go to React. Now your React, I'm going to bootstrap your, what's the word now, your user sets for you. I like hook a lot. There are so many type of stuff in React, by the way. So not just hook, there's context, there's so many concepts, right? That's the word. So many concepts in which you can structure your application to give you the best experience. So these are work order hook. which is how many line of code? 100 line of codes, right? And it's maintain quite a lot of things, and all your hook will look like this, most of them. This is the hook that's going to handle quite a lot of things for work order related. So if you are trying to approve work order, for example, now you will use this to also handle such kind of things. But enough of that. What we just do is just to duplicate this one and call it assets.typescript. So that's gonna be our hook for assets. So I'm just gonna give our tool. So let me show you some stuff that I'm using here so that to help you guys. So I will just tell it to convert this to use assets hook. So having said that, I'm going to give it some information because you need to also give it some context. And that's in my class that I was teach about API, or rather teach about using AI to do stuff. So I want to give you some context to understand. One of the things is that I need to tell it how my data looks like, you know, in returning and everything. But even if I don't tell it, sometimes it can be smart enough to imagine some things. So I'll just leave it to its imagination. So it has gone ahead to build what it has built, and then I can paste it. When I paste it, it's going to give us quite a lot of errors because so many things will not exist. And then it will try as much as possible to assume so many things. Like this asset response, for example, we don't also have assets, so we don't have quite a lot of things. So it has tried as much as possible to keep things in place. Like number one, we're not going to be searching by department and unit, and you know, to search for assets. Majorly we're going to be using criticality here and some other things. So we will skip so many things in our search and then just implement what we need to implement. So we need to delete some stuffs and add some stuffs as need be. Okay, so if I come to asset definition, we don't have any type for asset. I don't think I did any type stuff for asset, did I? If I go to our types, so where is the type now? Yes, types. There's no asset here. Good. Now, this one is taking me back. So what that means is we need to do for, let me see. What did I do? I've not implemented pagination for assets, by the way. So let's go ahead and start implementing all these things so that we can call it a night. So let's implement pagination for assets. I'm going to replicate the same thing and call this assets response and leave this to assets. So I need to go to this guy so that I will see the way asset looks like, right? So that it will help me convert it to TypeScript. Yeah, so that it will make our life easy. So let's tell it to convert it to TypeScript for us. I think that's all good. And we come here. By the way, this page is supposed to also be well labeled or have its own folder instead, because we're supposed to have like a file called assets where a lot of type of, in fact, I'm going to do that, sure. So I'll just say convert this to TypeScript. Why did I just type nonsense? So it's going to do that. While it's doing that for us, we need to create a different file to hold all these things. Yeah, so we have this. Like I said, remember I said that we're going to change all this naming. This naming convention is not balanced. This is terrible. This is terrible naming convention. We need to change it. So please take notes. We're going to change these names across. It's going to be like a proper object, you know, which in JavaScript sometimes is not. So there's no we need to have a better convention, right? So what I mean is this one is going to be like this in the future. So take notes, it's going to be like this in the future. This is going to be like this in the future, not the other way we've been doing it. So the reason why I was maintaining this method was because we are dealing with JSON coming from Golang, because whatever we are pushing from Golang has to match this. And typically when you are dealing with JSON is always lowercase majorly. So but because we are dealing with also objects from this part and we want to match everything, so you can see the confusion. That's where the confusion came up. But like I said, I'm gonna change it later, not now. But let's just first be consistent now, but eventually it's gonna change. Okay, so this is the asset description code. I'm gonna delete quite a number of things that I think I will not need. I'm leaving all these guys, so I'm leaving all these things unchanged. I don't know what Golang is calling it, but I'm just having faith and hope that it's not going to stress me in the future. So I think you're going to handle that stress, sure. But for now, let's leave it. Okay, so we have locations like so. So locations, we have location on details. I'm going to remove this. I'm going to keep this location and location like this. Remove all these ones. Status is important. Okay, we have this and we have this, and we are good to go. Now the one that we needed to do, which I've created, is this one. So you can see that this is looking synonymous, or it's looking similar to this. So you have this and this asset response, list of assets, and all these other things. This guy is supposed to actually be an object on its own. Like I said, I don't have time for that. It's supposed to convert this to an object, so that the whole thing will look nice. And whatever you've done here, you have to also maintain it in Golang as well. It's like that. You have to maintain everything in the same way. That way your data is just seamless, from all angles. You don't need to do conversion. Trust me, that conversion thing is another thing entirely. Okay, let's move on to the next point. I think all our data are set. If I go to now, this is what I was talking about, the fact that we need to do different type, create file for each stuff. So that way all your stuff are in their places. When you are looking for stuff, you know where to go and get them from. So our work order stuff is here. I know it will start throwing error in all places. There are so many cleanups to do, guys, so many cleanups to do, but there's no better time to do it. Not that let me just do only this cleanup for now, but there are so many cleanups to be done, and this is going to open up a lot of errors in the system, sure. But for now, at least doing this will give you an idea of what I mean by cleanup that needs to be done. So assets needs to move away. Everything down like this needs to move away. But at times you will need you will see some stuffs that don't have where they need to be. So those are core components or core interfaces or core objects. So you see things like that don't really have where they are supposed to be. So user login, user department, these are core stuffs in the system, even though they can still be categorized in some places. Like user login can be authenticate auth stuff. Departments can be core or can also be tied to user. Okay, so let's start bringing in people that need people. So this guy need this guy also need import all, and we're good to go in this aspect. So utility, this like core stuff to the system. And okay, let's start importing all the things we need here. Hey, you are assets. What's happening here? What's in the happen for you? Okay, so why is it not allowing me to use what I'm... Oh, no wonder. I was using JavaScript, so it's supposed to be TypeScript. Okay, so I have all I have this one set. Of course, we've messed up so many things in the system. We have to probably bring this one from assets, and which other place are we having error from, and that way we start looking more professional, or our code start looking more desirable and looking better. It's not looking generic. So this one is work order. Yeah, you can see it's looking better now. The whole thing is looking better. So these are like the cleanup I'm talking about. So even though now we've created the use assets, there are still cleanups to do. We are definitely not going to be calling these guys. Status, yes. Asset type, I don't know. Location, no. Okay, you can be searching by location. Yeah, you can. Criticality, yes. Asset description, of course. This is what you want to search for by assets. Okay, so now that we've deleted quite a number of things there, it needs to also reflect in what you did here. Okay, so that's how it will be if you want to add more stuffs, and then you need to do whatever you need to add, put that in place. Pagination, everything works the same way it needs to work, and that is it. So the next thing you need to do is to now build the UI. I won't build UI, won't build this, won't touch this, won't touch this. Right, later I know there are still more details in terms of how do you get the image. We'll talk about that later. So the image is available in we'll write another code for that one, how to get the image, because the image is available in the table. Actually, let me quickly show you that. Asset image are available in the table. So if we look at I think I must have hosted them somewhere else. Of course it's hosted in S3, but let me say I have file. Yes, it's stored here. This is where the image are stored. But don't worry about that. There will be an endpoint that you're going to call to actually get all the endpoints and what have you from that information. So the assignment again, in case if you forget, you can take notes. Very important. You need to redesign or update the design for this page. I've majorly done the heavy lifting of implementing pagination, even though I will like not for this one to be added as a part of the overlapping. So this one should not be showing, or rather it should, when I click next, it shouldn't be covering this part. When you click next, don't cover this part. When you click next, it should just show for only this part. It should just cover for that part. Just like as you notice, as we click next, it's not covering this section. Okay, that's that part. The next thing you need to do is like the interface for each of these. I like what you've done here, but there are still more things to do. The only time you need to highlight anything like this is when those things you want to stress it. Now look at the interface that we have here. Do you notice that it's just only one thing that was stressed here, and that's just the asset that was stressed. The rest are not too much stressed, kind of, right? So you don't want to distract the user's attention to too many information, right? So that's why you have those things there like that. So yeah, the interface is not so bad, but focus more on what you have there. Now you will notice that, like I said before, the asset was not mentioned here, which is very bad. Of course, that's not your doing. I'm just saying. So the asset needs to be featured in the view of whatever is going on here. And I think we must fix this. Let's fix it before we go. Now, the page should not be reloading every time we come here. So let's fix it. Let's see. This is work order. Let's fix this issue. We had that challenge the last time, but was not fixed. And the funny thing about the fix is kind of complex. By the way, the fix is complex, and I'm trying to see how we can do it in a subtle way. I'm trying to send a prompt. I'm trying to send a prompt to give me something more easy. So one of the way we can do it is to store it in a global state, you know, and that's state one. And that's why I said that the stuff is not as straightforward as it sounds. Or we can use cache in run query. Okay, so let me try and give it that I'm using this one. So it's also saying I should use local storage. And by the way, if we cannot do this one now, don't try and solve it. Oh, don't try and solve it. So okay. So one of the major option it wants us to use is local storage. So we are going to cache the page and work order in local storage and reload them on mount, which is crazy. So we're going to cache the page in local storage, and then when we come back, we're going to reload them every time. So, but the thing is that every time we're coming back, I don't want to reload the page. I want that page to be there. I don't want to reload the page. I want that page to be there for me. So so now okay, so the idea is that because the problem now is that we need to use React route to solve that problem. We need to use the React route to solve that problem. So the problem we can do today, yes, I can confirm that. Like I said, it's not a walk in the park. So let me show you what I mean by that. If you use this interface, for example, so this is the web version. This is the web version using this interface, right? So let's say we go out, we come back again. Now, because of the endpoints, it's supposed to be able to use React route to make sure that we are here before and not really call the endpoint again. I've not even checked this on the mobile view. Okay, I mean on the desktop view. So I like the pagination. I like that. I like it. Okay, so I think, like I said, that will happen in the next class. We'll focus on having that in the next class. So again, I also like that this one is like so. You can, it's not working on the desktop dragging. It's not allowing me to drag on the desktop, but on the mobile, funny enough, it's allowing me to drag it and move across, which is the behavior I expect. We were not able to search for assets. Let's search for LG here. Let's search for A. It's not working now. Okay, pump. Yeah, we're able to search for pump. So it's working. Okay. And the reason why they add the apply button is that as you search, they want you to, because as you notice, as we were searching, it was going off, which is a little bit weird. That's why they have the apply button. Okay. I see what they did there. So another thing you can do is that you can do it in such a way that when the text box comes up, or rather when the keyboard comes up and you press done, that's when it should do the search. But for now, we are maintaining the status quo. For now. Okay, so that's all for tonight. That is all for tonight. Any question? Any question for me?
Okay, from my end, no, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, so we did a lot of back and forth at some point.